Are you a pick-3 player or a struggling pick-3 player looking to improve your hit rate, your return rate, or someone who is curious about playing the pick-3, perhaps a beginner, wants to play it but haven't gone there because you're not sure how to play it? In this video, I'm going to give you a step-by-step approach on how to become a bigger winning pick-3 player. Hi, I'm Al from All Horse Racing All the Time. I'm your host. In this video, playing the pick-3, a step-by-step approach, I'm going to address how to become a winning pick-3 player, and if you are already, perhaps a way to improve your winnings and get bigger returns on less of an initial investment. And the pick-3. There's a few ways to approach it. There's three main ingredients I'm going to discuss here, and I'm going to go step by step. And beginning with step one, you want to handicap the card in advance. That puts you ahead of most of the people who are going to be playing the pick-3, the public. Most of the public who is playing have not handicapped the races in advance. And let's face it, a lot of players don't handicap the races at all. Or if they go to the track, they take a step-by-step approach. So this puts you ahead of the game right away. You're playing against the public. A lot of the public is uninformed, and they're not as sharp a handicapper as you, right? You put your, handicapping, that's an art in itself. And even if you're not a pro or you're not a great handicapper yet, you can always improve your game. In this show, I give you some, horse racing tips. I give you different ways to approach different races. And during the live shows, you see, tune in, I cover entire cards, handicapping the races in real time. And you can get some handicapping angles there as I handicap the races as they approach the post time. But here, step one, handicap the card in advance. That's going to put you ahead of most players right off the bat. And step two, pick your spots. And now if you handicap the races in advance, again, that puts you ahead of the public because now you're familiar with the cards and with the neck, and you'll be able to pick your spots where the solid pick-3 plays are. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. So you pick your spots in advance. Most players, they go to the track, they buy the racing form, or they start their handicapping as when the races start, when the board opens for the first race. Are they going to be able to pick their spots? They're going to now, not only do they have to handicap the current race, they have to now they got to look in advance and see, what's going on in the second leg, what's going on in the third leg. You already know the spots. Yeah, you want to pick your spots. And I'm going to talk again about that because some races are not good. Some races are not good pick-3 candidates. So I'm going to talk about that. So the public, yeah, they're scurrying, trying to find their spots. And you already know your spots based on what you see. You've seen all the races. You know which races now are not good pick-3 candidates. So, and step three here is cover the race the correct way. Now, the pick-3, one of the things that makes the pick-3 beautiful is if you handicap the races in advance, you know your big opportunities in the third leg. And the third leg, the pick-3 payouts are blind to the public. There are no odds on the pick-3 that you can see on the board. It's not like a daily double or exacta. Pick-3 gives you an edge when picking your spots. And one of the key ingredients here in picking your spots is finding a solid third leg. Finding a solid third leg. And the other one is, because it's blind, the other one is starting the pick-3 off with a race that you can cover with as little as 1 or 2 horses. You want to start off early. A single, okay. but at least two, a race that you can start by covering just two. Why cover just two or one? For starters, you've already handicapped the race in advance, right? You find a horse that's a solid pick. Now, just in case something goes wrong, you have a backup. So you have two there, and you're not covering everything that moves in the first leg. You know, if you watch TVG or you watch some of these shows, watch how often they start off with four or five horses, or 3 or 4 in the first leg. You don't want to be there spreading wide early so you don't get eliminated, and then only having, depending on just one in the third leg, like a single in the third leg, or 2 horses, and you do all your spreading early. Number one, you don't want to spread early. How many times have we seen them get spread early and then get knocked out of the first leg? And so you get the first leg. You could look in advance and see if your horses are paying something, at least an exactus, so you'll have an idea if the pick is worth wagering on, depending on who you have in the second leg. So you have an idea. And if you have only 1 or 2 horses, hey, if you don't get it done in the first leg, you know in advance. You get knocked out early. So you could start fresh in the next leg. You may want to start fresh in the next leg anyway, because you like what you see down the card, and you see back-to-back pick 3s that fit something. And hey, you knocked out early with your 2 horses, whatever. Hopefully not. But at least, again, you get to start fresh. So find that. And you don't want to see, if you see a horse is really low somewhere in the sequence, a horse that figures to be 2 to 5 or 2 to 5, 3 to 5, with a pick 3 is going to pay nothing, which really amounts to a daily double. Maybe you want to avoid that pick 3. Or especially if you have 2 big favorites of the pick 3, it's likely not to pay anything, even if even if a little bit of a longer one connects in the other leg, besides the 2 with the big favorites that everyone is going to have. So you cover it the right way. And that coverage begins with starting it off with a race where you can narrow it to 1 or 2 horses. And the third leg looks like, the blind leg looks like something is there, and a long shot that's not uncovered by the board. And moving forward, again, you don't want to be playing a pick where you're going to have 2 heavy favorites, 2 horses that the public, everybody's going to be on, and they're most likely to come in. It doesn't make it a big pick 3 play. And one of the beauties, again, of the pick 3 is, for you players out there who are learning and want to jump into the pick 3, they have tracks. A lot of tracks cover the pick 3 for 50 cents. So if you play it the right way, even 50-cent pick 3s can pay quite a bit. Now, I played a pick 3. I wrote down some of the notes. One of my best days hitting the pick 3 were with minimum coverage. It was a 2012 Breeders' Cup. And the first pick 3 that I played led off with a single. And the single was Shanghai Bobby. I've seen that horse run before, and it was a standout over the others in the race. So I singled it, and you know what? It had a bit of a battle that race, but it got it done. It didn't run one of its better race. So I played a 1 by 2 by 2 pick 3. Now I played it for $1, but it could have been played for as little as 50 cents. So I invested $4 into that pick 3. And I'll tell you what happened in that race. This is just to give you a heads up on the power of the pick 3. Shanghai Bobby went off at 1.3 to 1. And I had 2 horses in the second race, one of them being Little Mike, who won the race. And Little Mike won that race at odds at 17.3 to 1. And in the third leg, I played Trinidad, a sprinter who had blazing early speed. And who was the horse I had? Another one, the Lumber Guy or somebody. One of the horses was like 3 to 9 to 1. And 2 standouts in the race. And Trinidad won at 1370 to 1, and this $4 pick three, this $2, I played it for $1. $1 pick three returned 931.50 on a 1x2x2 play, leading it off with the favorite. And then it got better than there. And then I followed that up with a pick three, another $1 pick three. This time I played 2x2x2. And of course, who won? Little Mike led off that pick three at 17.3 to 1. So now I knew I was in business after this, the second leg started, and I already had hit the first two. And then in the third race, I had in this pick three underneath, I had Trinenberg. And then I added who was it? Wise Dan, who went off at 1.8 to 1. But I followed it up with a second one. So this was an $8 play. The only horse in there that looked like it might be able to defeat Wise Dan. So then I hit the pick three with Trinenberg. That got back, 931.50 for a buck. If you played it for if you played it for 50 cents on a 1x2x2 play, you got back 465 and change, or something like that. 460 and change. And then with Little Mike, the favorite at 1.8 to 1, I got back $1,163.80 on a 2x2x2 play. So the pick three can be a devastating tool. And I told you the prices, and that would have been nearly $600 for a 50-cent play on a 2x2x2 play, which would have amounted to $4. And both those pick threes had big favorites, a 1.3 to 1 and a 1.8 to 1. Notice they weren't 2 to 5 or 3 to 5 favorites, but Wise Dan, I knew, I was already counting the money. I know Wise Dan was going to win that race, and if it didn't, I was going to even get a big jackpot with that second place finisher. The second horse that I had with Wise Dan. So I was actually rooting against Wise Dan in that race. But, it shows you how powerful a pick three plays. And now with your coverage, going back to the coverage again, okay, you're ahead of the public. You've handicapped the races in advance. You found your plays. You found a pick three with a first leg that you can narrow to 1 or 2. And some pick threes are just not playable. And it's a pick three where you're not going to have a massive favorite in there, especially in 2 legs. You can may be able to get away with a massive favorite in 1 leg, and make it an early leg like the first race. And maybe you can do some damage. At least you can see if the payouts, if you have a horse in the second race that's going to pay something okay in the exacta, you see a longer one in the second leg that the public might not spot. Now, in the second race, you could spread a little bit more if you have to. Maybe you want to go 3 deep. Again, you find these opportunities where you have some horses in there that are going to pay a price, and you want to find some races in there where you can eliminate a bunch of horses. You don't want to be spreading to the moon and back in these plays. That's not what it's all about. You should be able to eliminate at least one, if not at least one horse you should be able to eliminate from a race. See, the thing could barely walk, let alone run. Do you really want to include it just to make sure you get the job done? Because that adds up to extra money. When playing the races, you want to be able to eliminate a few entries in a large field, especially. If you're going to spread, if you're going to hit the all button, okay, I guess the time to hit the all button would be when it's a small field. So it's not like you're covering 10, 11, maybe 12 horses in a race where 8 of them don't stand a chance. So when playing pick three, find races where you can eliminate horses. And the horses that are standing, if you're spreading, the horses that are standing, or you have some long ones in there that have a legit shot to win, or at least a puncher's chance. Okay? And if you're going to spread and spread wide, cast a net, the pick three opportunities to choose from are the ones where the third leg is that leg with a bunch of entries. So now you have maybe only 1, 2 horses in the first race, possibly 3 in the second race. So 2 times 3 is 6. If you're playing for 50 cents, 2 times 3 is 6. Say you spread 7 in the next race, or 6. Hopefully you should get it done with six horses in the third leg. 2 by 3 is 6, times 6 is 36. And now if you're playing it for 50 cents, that's 18 bucks. And if you're a bigger player who plays for $1, or the ones who play, yeah, I'm playing $50 to win this race, whatever, you can cover that pick 3. And there's a good chance you're going to nail a pick 3 instead of that win bet, and you will have more coverage along the way. So keep that in mind for the pick 3. And the example I gave you for the Breeders' Cup with Trinneberg and who's the other? Trinneberg and Wise Dan, and these were coverages where I got it done 1 by 2 by 2 and 2 by 2 by 2. So, and you can do that with the pick 3. Maybe you want to do a backup ticket, a small backup ticket. And maybe you want to include the horse you like best with one you left out in one of the legs, just in case. So, and this gives you a chance to hit a couple of pick 3 tickets there, not just one. And instead of, maybe you spread to 5, maybe you spread to 6, maybe you spread to 7 in the final leg. Leave that spreading to the final leg. Again, you're picking your spots. You've handicapped the races in advance. You can get it done. You can get it done. You can get it done. You don't have to cut, and you can cut corners. You did your handicapping in advance. You're ahead of the public. They're scurrying. You know that you have a big pick 3 opportunity down the road, down the 7th car, down in the 7th race. Players who didn't handicap when they start, when the card starts, when racing opens, when the board opens for the first race. They're not looking at the 7th race. Think about it. When you handicap a race, and if you handicap a race the right way, how long does it take for you to handicap a single race that you feel comfortable with it, that it's even a race worth playing? You are going to be ahead by handicapping in advance of most of the betting public. You're betting against the public. Remember, you're not betting against the house. I think most of you know that, but some of you might not, who new to racing and watching for the first time. The house doesn't care who wins. They're going to get their takeout, and they're not getting part of the winning pool. So handicap the races in advance. Start those pick 3s off with a leg where you could narrow it to 1 or 2. Because some players, they're in the pick 3. They hit the first leg, right? They spread the first leg. And everybody, again, the third spot of the pick 3 is blind, third leg. That's the one you want to find those things where you could really deliver that knockout punch with a winner in the third leg, where most people have no idea what these horses are going to be worth on the board. First and second race, you can see it. You can have an idea at least who's going to win the first race by the public, or at least who's going to pay something, where the money is going in the first 2 races, and you want to surprise them in the third leg. You don't have to play all the pick 3s. You're ahead of the public. So keep that in mind. And again, keep in mind, find your horses in these pick 3 opportunities that you can get rid of, the ones that can barely walk, let alone run. And you'll be ahead of the game playing these pick 3s. And as I gave you that example, that's kind of an extreme example, the Breeders' Cup, of course, but that takes place, opportunities like this takes every single day, maybe on a small scale, but they still pay a lot. You find those races, so and you choose them in advance. And if you can, and this way of approaching the game, especially if you're a smaller player, somebody who's learning how to play the pick 3s, you can play it for 50 cents. So when the time is right, you can spread with the big boys without getting hurt, and you can provide the proper coverage, and you could cover the right way, and you don't have to pay a lot of money to do it. As opposed to pick 4, where it can start to get a little bit expensive if you have to cover it the right way. So keep that in mind. If you're playing the pick 4, you want to find opportunities where you can find at least a couple of legs where you could limit it to a couple horses. And again, if possible, start off the pick 4 with a race that you want to start it early. You don't want to be spreading large in the first leg of a pick-4. Otherwise, it's probably not worth playing, especially if you want to hit it. You don't want to be left. You don't want to be left holding the bag, depending on a single horse in the last leg after getting some long ones home in the early legs, or waiting around, wasting races. So I hope this helps with the Pick-3. If you have any questions about the Pick-3 or this video, or like to weigh in on the Pick-3, add your comments down in the comments area below. So good luck playing the Pick-3. I mean, it's a tremendous, tremendous opportunity, and it's not rocket science. It's as you've seen right here, how I've addressed it. The step-by-step approach. If you're a decent handicapper, or even an average handicapper, if you cover the race the right way, you'll give yourself a chance to get the job done here, and you don't have to spend a lot of money in coverage. Eliminate those horses. You want to cut that, cut the legs down where you can. But on a side note, another thing, don't get cheap either. If you see some big opportunities there, don't start cutting off horses that have a chance to knock you out by getting cheap. Because nothing's worse than that. Maybe you spread to 5 in the final leg of the Pick-3, and there's one that you're kind of on the fence about, and you say, you know what, I think these 5 or these 6 are going to get it done, so I'm going to cut that 7th horse. No, sometimes you got to spread the right way to finish the job. And in this case, if you're still on the fence about leaving a horse out, and it's a longer one, or if you're trying to beat a favorite who you think, I think the favorite is vulnerable, I think these others can beat it today, don't get really cheap if you have a borderline contender on a potentially big Pick-3. You've handicapped the races, right? And get cheap by trying to beat the favorite, get cute, or leave out, get cheap, and cut out the one that has the puncher's chance to get the job done at a price. So let's win some money with the Pick-3. Let me know how it goes. I'm pretty sure it's going to go well. Or again, in summary, step by step, handicap the races in advance, pick your spots, cover the right way, find a first leg where you could narrow it to 1 or 2. This way you don't have to sweat it out and then possibly not get knocked out of the third race, or you don't want to load up early and then be sweating it out, getting, only having 1 or 2 chances in the final leg. If you're going to spread, save that for the third leg, where the third leg is invisible. And 2, cover the, pick your spots. You don't want to find races where you pick 3 sequences where you have 2 giant favorites, or even 1 too big of a favorite, which turns it into a daily double or an exacta play at worst when you think about the potential payouts. And number 3, cover it the right way. Until next time, if you're playing the races today, all the best and win big. And if you like this video, this Pick-3 video, share it with friends. Help them become bigger winning Pick-3 players, or better winning Pick-3 players, investing less in the Pick-3 and getting bigger returns. Like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time, all the best.